Hey guys, and welcome to a really quick channel update. I know it's a Sunday and you'd normally expect to hear from me by way of a trip report, but I wanted to take a little bit of time to let you know about some stuff that's going on in the background, some stuff I've been working on, and some exciting new plans for the future. Also in this video, I'll be answering some of your questions that I asked for 5, 6, maybe even 7 weeks ago now via a short video. So I'll be answering a whole load of your questions at the end of the video. But first, let's get on to some updates about the channel and how I plan to push things forward through the rest of this year and into next. One of the main questions that I get on my channel, either through the Q&A submissions that I put out from time to time or from people just randomly commenting on my videos, is how can I afford to do what I'm doing? How is it that I can upload 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 videos per year of me traveling on some incredible, amazing, inspiring travel experiences? Well, the answer is quite simple. Firstly, when I started off doing this channel, it was a kind of scrapbook for me. So YouTube didn't bring in any money for me. I wasn't getting any money from elsewhere, and it was basically a hobby for me. Over the the last sort of 2.5, 3 years that I've been uploading onto YouTube, obviously the channel has grown. I'm now at a point where I'm nearly 50,000 subscribers big, which is just incredible considering that I started this channel with no strategy, no kind of aspirations for what it was going to achieve. Somehow, almost 50,000 of you have bothered to hit the subscribe button and say that you want to hear more from me, which is absolutely amazing. I just can't imagine what I would have said if you'd have told me that 3 years ago. So thanks so much for hitting the subscribe button and saying that you wanted to be part of the channel. Now, some transparency from me as to how I fund the channel. There are various ways that YouTubers can fund their travel experiences in my particular niche, which is travel. The most obvious way is to get the industry to pay for it, in which case I mean either being paid to travel on airlines and put reviews up either on a written blog or via Instagram or via YouTube like I'm doing. I don't do that. I've never collaborated with an airline. Firstly, it's not something that I'm against. I would personally take, if offered, an appropriate collaboration opportunity with an airline, but I've never done so yet. The reason that I've not done so is I quite like the authenticity that I can bring to you on this channel by paying for all of the content myself. There's no point me telling you whether this airline is any good or not if I didn't actually shell out my own money for the ticket. So if I'm telling you that something's good and I've paid several £100s for it, you can be rest assured that I think that it is good. As I've said, in the future, I'm not ruling out doing collaborations with airlines. There are just a couple of ground rules I would have if ever I was to do that. Firstly, I would disclose in the video that this was a collaboration. For example, if I got the ticket for free, I would tell you guys at the start, look, this airline has invited me for free to take this particular flight. And that, I think, gives me that gives me the authenticity, and it gives you the satisfaction that you know that if I'm saying something about a product that I got it for free, and therefore my views may be a bit skewed. And the other thing that I would lay down as a ground rule for any future collaboration with an airline is that they're not going to be just providing me with a journey because. I don't want to leech off airlines. I don't want to be coming across as an entitled YouTuber who lives in his own bubble. Any future collaboration with an airline would have to be something that I'd never done before, something that maybe got you and me behind the scenes access, and something that showed you, the viewer, something that you couldn't see elsewhere without that collaboration. So that's kind of where I stand on collaborations. I also don't sell or promote credit cards or other travel products through my YouTube channel because I prefer the authenticity. So moving on to how I actually fund my channel. Firstly, I have a budget from my wages every month, which I put into travel experiences and invest into this channel. So that's probably a few £100s that I take from my wages from my job. I have a 9-to-5 job here in communications and PR. It's not a particularly well paid or powerful job. I don't travel for work. All the stuff that you see on this channel is stuff that I've done through funding my own travel as a hobby. So I take a few £100 from that every month and put it into my budget. The second and most significant form of income that I have is my YouTube channel AdSense. And what that is basically money from advertisements that you see on my videos whenever you click on them. So every time a mid-roll ad plays, or you see a small banner on one of my videos, or you get one of those adverts at the start of the YouTube video, I'm getting a very tiny percentage of the revenue from that ad, and it goes into my pocket at the end of every month. And I'm reinvesting every single penny of advertising content into making more videos from you. So I don't use YouTube as a way of funding, rent, mortgage, car, insurance. It's not funding my life. It's just funding those activities on the side that form the channel, the travel experiences that you guys are seeing every week here on Paul's Trip Reports. Finally, I do get some income from something called Patreon. And what Patreon is, for those of you that don't know, is a way that you guys can donate money to me, anything from $1 up to $10 a month, in return for some additional content. Now, I've had my Patreon for just over a year now, and I've never really taken it seriously until the last month or so. Over the last month, I've basically reached a point after I'd finished my world tour and come back home where I thought, I really want to do this a lot more professionally. I want to get a lot more involved with the whole travel YouTuber thing. I want to do this a lot more professionally. I want to devote a lot more time. And those of you who have followed the channel will know that time is my biggest constraint. So if my biggest constraint is time, then what is Patreon doing to assist me with that? Well, firstly, I want to get to a point at some point in the future where I can quit my job and do this full time. I'm not anywhere near that at the moment. The channel has been growing incredibly, looking set for probably 60 to 65,000 subscribers by the end of this year. I'll go past 100,000, I'm certain of it, in 2019. So things are really looking up for this channel. The growth is incredible. I'm getting over 100 new subscribers a day. And at the moment, I've just been doing what I would call drumbeat content. I've not been putting out anything that I would consider to be particularly special. And I have some amazing things to post from my world tour that you've not seen yet. And I've got some amazing plans for 2019. And by the way, I'll talk about that more in the second half of this video, because a couple of you submitted some great questions along those lines. Anyway, back to Patreon. What do you get if you choose to donate on Patreon? Well, there are 4 tiers of contribution that I have on Patreon, and some of this stuff I know you're going to be really excited about. So the smallest, the lowest pledge that you can make is $1 a month. That's about 75 pence in British money. And what you'll get for that is access to Patreon-only content. So that's when I post things on Patreon. Anything that I do post on Patreon, by the way, will be an exclusive. You won't be able to see it elsewhere. So there'll be Patreon-only content. There won't be Patreon-only videos, but there will be Patreon-only posts from me to say what I'm doing, what my plans for the future are. Maybe I'll put some polls up to let you guys have a say in the direction of the channel. What kind of stuff do you want to see going forward? Also, if you donate $1 a month, you'll get to see my videos without any ads. And how does that happen? Well, for 48 hours before I publish it on YouTube, I will post a private, unlisted copy of my video of the trip report on Patreon. And you will be able to, firstly, watch the video before anybody else. You'll be able to leave the first comments. You'll be able to leave the first likes. And if you post a comment in the first 48 hours, while that is unlisted with no adverts, I will reply to you on YouTube in the comments section. So I'm hoping that a lot of you will be enthused by that. I hope that you're really kind of excited about it. It's a really cool thing. I mean, if you are donating money to me of any size through Patreon, you do not have to watch ads on my videos. So as long as you guys watch it within the first 48 hours while it's on there on Patreon, you will see no ads. You won't have any interruptions at the start, the middle, or the end of the video. You'll be able to watch it completely seamlessly. And as I said, you'll be able to leave the first comments, likes, and so on. The next tier up is where it starts getting serious. So $3 a month, I will post a monthly tutorial to all $3 and above patrons. And what that means is I'm going to show you how I leverage my own abilities, my own knowledge. I'll show you how to manipulate airfares. I'll show you how to use things like Google Flights, ITA Matrix, Skyscanner. Tell you some of the tricks of the trade that I don't post on YouTube. ITA Matrix is basically the engine behind Google Flights, and you will need to learn how to master ITA Matrix if you want to fly and have some of the experiences that I do on a very low budget. As well as posting some of my tips and tricks on how to find the best airfares, I will also be posting some of my little travel hacks, some stuff that is non-money related that will make your life a hell of a lot easier when you travel around the world, especially if you travel in the way that I do. I've accumulated so much expertise and experience over years and years of traveling, mostly on my own. I can kind of hold my own whenever I go anywhere. I've learned so much, and I want to share that with you guys if you're contributing $3 a month or more. I'll post a monthly rundown of all the best airfares that I have seen in various travel classes all around the world on Patreon. So if you contribute $3 a month or more, you will see all of my favorite airfares for the month, and I search a lot of airfares. So I'll put my favorite ones that I've seen, the most incredible value ones, in a monthly rundown that you'll be able to see on Patreon. Again, of course, that will be exclusive. Anything on Patreon is exclusive. It won't appear anywhere else on my YouTube channel or on my other social media outlets. I'll also have a monthly Q&A post where I will answer all of your questions, so you won't have to fight through my Q&A videos to try and get noticed. I will answer your Q&A questions in a Q&A post at the end of every month. $5 a month is basically where you get everything that I've just talked about at the $1 tier and the $3 tier, but you'll also be recognized on my videos in the description. You'll get a credit in the description text of my videos. You will have seen all of my videos so far credit all the $5 and above patrons, and there are quite a lot of them, and thank you so much if you've decided to contribute at that level already. But yes, you'll get credit on my video for helping to make it happen by donating $5 a month. The highest tier of contribution that I have at the moment on Patreon is $10 a month, which is currently, if I look at my laptop here, currently 26 patrons choose to donate $10 a month, that's incredible, really. I mean, it's really helping me, develop as a YouTuber. You will get everything that I've already talked about, including, of course, all the credits on the videos, all of the tips and tricks, all of the Q&As, and watching my videos for free. You will get direct help and personal troubleshooting with booking any of the fares that I've posted if you run into issues. So you can just drop me an email via Patreon, and I will have a look at it for you and let you know what you're doing wrong, if anything, and I'll let you know how to work around things and make sure that you get the best fare. And you'll also get a social media follow if you donate $10 a month or more. You will need to email me as soon as you've made that pledge so that I can follow you. You need to let me know what your social media handles are, and I'll give you a follow on Twitter or Instagram. So that is what Patreon is. Thank you so much if you have sat through that. I know that Patreon is not for everybody, and I'm not trying to guilt trip you guys into contributing, because at the end of the day, I'm fulfilling a hobby. This isn't my job, this is my hobby. I feel incredibly privileged, although not entitled. I'm very privileged to be able to do what I do. I'm indulging my hobby in a way that I would have thought impossible years and years ago. And yeah, I'm sitting here now at nearly 50,000 subscribers, and it's just been going absolutely amazingly. I have absolutely no idea what I'd be doing without YouTube at the moment, so thank you so much. If Patreon is not your thing, you're just not the sort of person that likes to donate to YouTubers, I totally understand that, and no skin off my nose if you decide that Patreon's not your thing and I should shut up about it. That's fine. Everything that you currently see on YouTube is not going to go behind some sort of paywall. Everything that you currently get from my YouTube channel, you will still get in the future if you choose not to be a patron. It's still be an incredible experience for you. Every single subscriber, every single view, every single comment, every single thumbs up really matters to me, and it really helps my channel. Every single subscriber and every view help my videos rank in search on YouTube. You help bring other people in to watch my videos, and when other people come in to watch my videos, some of them will subscribe, and I grow bigger and bigger and bigger. The growth that I've had, just about 100 subscribers a day on average, is down to you guys who are watching the video, sharing it, interacting with it, and doing all the things that people on YouTube really want you to do. So thank you so much if you become a patron. That is unbelievable, and you are helping me towards maybe one day giving up my job and doing this full time. But if you choose not to, I love you all the same. Right, now that I've finished talking about Patreon, I'm going to go on to a couple of other ways that you can help without just donating me money, and then we'll move on to the Q&A section of the video, which I'm sure a lot of you have been waiting for weeks and weeks and weeks. So one of the ways that you can really help me out without spending any money in terms of donating it to me is to use my Booking.com affiliate link. Now, every time I stay with Booking.com, I get a voucher code, and I'm going to post those voucher codes on this video and on future videos. And if you decide to use that voucher code to make your next Booking.com hotel booking, you will get £15 or the local currency equivalent off your booking, and so will I. That's really going to help me out, saving £15 on every booking that I make, staying over in random cities and airport hotels, and it will help you guys out. £15 off, that's about $20, 17 euros, something like that. So it will help you guys as well as helping me. The other thing that I've set up is an Amazon affiliate link, and I'm going to be posting that on all future videos as well. So if you decide to buy anything on Amazon, I get a small kickback of it. Everyone's doing it, don't judge me. So here we are at the Q&A part of the video, which you've been waiting for. I've got all the questions loaded up on my laptop, which is just out of shot here. I'm going to basically blast through a whole load of questions that you guys submitted via the comment section of that video that I posted weeks and weeks ago. And yeah, let's just get into it. Thank you so much, by the way, for asking so many questions. There were hundreds and hundreds of them. Let's just pick the best ones and work through them. Heathrow Flyer says, from all of the traveling that you've done, what's the biggest thing you learned? The biggest thing that I've learned is that travel is easy and hassle-free. Traveling in the way that I do often seems like it's going to be a lot of hassle, but I find that actually to make things easy, it doesn't take a huge amount of research. Firstly, to get the cheapest fare, it's not terribly difficult to do that, and secondly, when I'm in places, it's not difficult to get around. I'm very, very privileged to speak English natively. I think that's one of the things that makes travel very easy for me in particular. But yeah, I think one of the biggest things that I've found having travelled all around the world is that it's pretty easy, isn't it? Emerald Block says, what do you have planned for the future? So for the remainder of this year, my priority is basically to push out all of the other trip reports that I haven't yet published on this channel, trips that I've already taken and some trips that I'm going to be taking over the next couple of months. You will see between now and New Year 2019, 50 videos that are full-length trip reports, plus some bonus content like lounge reviews and the odd Q&A. They will all be posted between now and New Year 2019. So that's 4.5, 5 months that I've got to push all those videos out. There's a huge amount of content. In terms of when I'm going to be posting, I'm not going to commit to sticking to Thursdays and Sundays. Two reasons for that. One is that Sunday is actually now pretty congested in terms of trip reporters and travel influencers posting stuff on YouTube. And I'm finding that I can't get my content out early enough. It's going out pretty late, like this video is today. And I think that it's better for me to simply post when the stuff's ready. So don't expect regular videos on Thursday and Sunday. There will be, naturally, because I have so many videos to put out, an average of 2 a week, but I will post them as and when they're ready, and I'm not going to rush creating any of the videos because I'm going to risk the quality. I think one of the things that's really brought people into this channel, specifically since I started doing the voiceover and increasing the production values, is the increased quality of the content. And I don't want to sacrifice that by trying to meet deadlines. So Thursday and Sunday, I don't know, it's not going to necessarily happen on those days anymore. So please be patient, but you're still going to get an average of 2 and sometimes 3 videos a week. As far as 2019 goes, I have got some incredible plans to take. I'm not going to do a world tour anymore. I'm not going to spend 3 weeks going around the world, but I'm going to spend at least 1 week in Africa taking airlines you've never heard of. I'm going to review some really amazing travel experiences in Central Asia. Now that involves going to places like Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Georgia, Armenia, places like that, reviewing airlines that you just have never heard of, and some maybe that you have but just didn't know where they were from. And also I'm going to be going back to the United States, I hope, for a week and review some of the smaller carriers there that haven't made it onto my channel yet. The aviation scene in the United States is pretty cool, and I just love traveling around the US, so I'm going to be back there at some point next year. Anything else I think is a bonus. I'm really hoping to get to South America at some point, and I know you guys in Australia keep going on and on and on about me trying to get down to Australia. Maybe that'll happen if I get out towards the Far East again next year. Let's see what happens. I know I kind of owe you guys a visit, so yeah, I've got some really cool plans for 2019. I'm fleshing those out and pricing up a whole load of itineraries. At the moment, I'm really excited by what I've found, and yeah, later on in this year I will be able to share with you some solid plans about taking some pretty amazing airlines, I think. Rum Monkeyable, interesting username, says, Paul, do you have a favourite website to review carriers, schedules, prices and flight routes when planning your trips? Yes, ITA Matrix, that's the website which I alluded to earlier in the Patreon section. That is basically my go-to place to find all of the best fares. It's an extraordinarily powerful tool that shows you all the public fares available in various currencies. It's definitely something that you want to master if you want to travel in the way that I do. In terms of reviewing, carriers, personally, I don't necessarily select airlines which I think are good. I am an aviation enthusiast. I'm a travel experience geek. I like good experiences and interesting experiences and challenging experiences, and that's part of the reason why I took Saudi Arabian Airlines. Okay, they were cheap. I mean, I got them for 400 quid in business class one way between Rome and Jakarta. That's pretty damn cheap. But also, I knew that it would make a good video, and I knew that it would be interesting because not a lot of people put up videos about Saudi Arabian Airlines. It's not one of the traditional Middle East three. For those of you that don't know, that's Qatar, Etihad, Emirates. They're an interesting airline, and I had interesting experiences when I travelled with them, and it challenged my perceptions of what Saudi culture was like. So yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily look for the best airline, otherwise I'd have flown Etihad and Emirates and Qatar by now, and I haven't flown any of them, and I don't necessarily have any plans to fly them next year either. I'm going to fly stuff that's kind of off the beaten track for people in my niche. I want to fly stuff that maybe you guys haven't seen before and that I certainly haven't experienced. The number one priority for me when I'm researching carriers is, have I flown them before? Is this going to be an interesting video? And is it something that is going to challenge my perceptions? So Simply Travelling HD/4K knows how to get himself into a Q&A video with some flattery. He says, now you're approaching superstar status. Would you consider a followers meetup a bit like Rob from Head for Points does? I think people would love that. Yes, I am considering doing something like this. Firstly, well, I think I should probably address the superstar thing. At the moment, I am just about touching 50,000 subscribers. That's going to happen in the next month or so for me, I think. But just to put that into perspective, there are more than 100,000 channels on YouTube that have a bigger following than I do. So I don't feel like I'm a superstar. I'm very flattered by that. But yes, I will do some meetups. I think for 50,000 followers, I will look at a weekend in London and maybe some other cities in the UK where people can come with me, hang out somewhere, and we'll talk travel and just hang out. I think that'll be really good. I've not done it before, and I think I asked the question on Instagram a few weeks ago, and there was quite a lot of interest for a London meetup. So yes, I really want to try and make that happen in the next few months. Elliot Pole says, how do I get into travelling? I'm 20 and have more loans and debts than fingers, but I love to travel. How do I start, as I want to see everything I can and travel in style? Well, you need to clear your loans and debts. Once you've done that, come back to me. Next question is from Stenik, or Stenik LL, who says, hi Paul, I'd like to ask you how your passion for travelling came about. Basically, I've always been a transport geek. From when I was very young, I was always kind of into trains and planes in an enthusiast sense. But my passion for actually travelling came about when I went to grammar school. So for those of you that aren't familiar with what a grammar school is, it's basically a selective school in the UK There are some places that have grammar schools and some places that don't. It's basically a publicly funded school that is selective, so you've got to take an exam to get in there. I went to an all-boys school called Aylesbury Grammar, and apart from the fact that I wasted most of my time there, I actually did some incredible school trips. I went to Amsterdam when I was, I think, 12 years old, which is certainly an interesting place to visit when you're 12. The following year, I went to Russia when I was studying the Russian Revolution. That was a school trip as well. We visited St. Petersburg and Moscow. And I think, you know, for a British teenager visiting Moscow when you're 13 or 14, given the perceptions that a lot of people in this country have about Russia, to actually visit and see how different the place was to what you could possibly have expected. Such a challenging place, such an interesting place. I visited in the year 2000, which seems such a long time ago now. But the idea that I would come off that trip with such changed perceptions, I think, really sold into me the value of travel. I also went, I was very fortunate to do something called a team challenge. When I was 16, I went to Malawi in the sort of central southern part of Africa, very small landlocked country with a big lake. Beautiful place, did volunteering work there for a month. Visited Malawi. Africa was nothing like how I'd expected it to be. Everything was completely different. What a tremendous education it was. And I think really that's where my passion for travel came from. The more I travel, the more I learn. I think travel is one of the best forms of education you can have, whatever age you are. I'm still learning as I'm traveling now. Next question is from Portsmouth FC, and I assume it's not the real Portsmouth Football Club because the icon is a little cat. They say, what's the worst experience that you've had at a border? And I'm struggling to think of any genuinely really bad experiences. I got secondary screened in Canada once where I was flying into Toronto. Basically, I'd arrived, as you do as a frequent flyer, on a one-way miles ticket. I was a single guy who they thought may have been looking for work in Canada. So basically, I got secondary screened there. That wasn't a bad experience there. It was just, a lot of time out of my day. They just basically wanted to know that I had a life back home and wasn't going to work in Canada. The border officials were super, super polite in Canada. It isn't everybody, by the way. And I think that was probably my worst experience. I can't think of a worse one. Maybe a couple of times I visited America, I've had some long queues at the border, but I've never had a really bad one anywhere that I've visited. Train Spotting West says, when you were young, i.e. teenage years, did you have a clear idea on what you would be doing today? No. Firstly, I'm 32 years old. So when I was a teenager, there was no YouTube, there was no Twitter, there was no Facebook. Social media basically didn't exist. And when I was a teenager, when I was age 13 and 14, basically had a thing called MSN Messenger, which people my age would remember, but a lot of people wouldn't because it was closed down some years ago. That was basically an instant message system, a bit like WhatsApp, I think. It didn't work on phone numbers, but rather your email address. So I didn't really have any social media when I was younger. There were no social media stars. So yeah, I could never have dreamt that I would be doing what I'd be doing now when I was a teenager. The opportunities that I'm having now to both travel the world and try and leverage it through social media, it just wasn't a thing. It hadn't been invented. So yeah, I didn't have a clear idea on what I'd be doing today. The next question is from Guardianite, and this is a really good question. It is, if given the chance, would you fly as a passenger on Concorde and or the Tupolev Tu-144? So for those of you that don't know what a Tupolev 144 is, it is basically the Russian version of Concorde, picture appearing on your screen now. I definitely would fly as a passenger on Concorde. I feel gutted that I was born maybe 10, 15 years too late to have ever had any chance of travelling on Concorde. And I feel quite emotional about Concorde. It's such an amazing piece of engineering. And I remember when it was finally retired. And it's sad that there isn't a flyable example in the world today. It's all, they're just in museums or left to rot outside. So yeah, I definitely would travel on Concorde, and I think for good measure I'd have to travel on the Tupolev 144 as well. Flyboys Aviation has given me a question which I get from time to time. They say, do you pay for your flights with cash or miles mostly? Now, I pay for most of my flights with cash. In fact, nearly all of my flights are paid for with cash, and there's a good reason for that. Now, you'll have noticed that, especially this year, I have not been travelling within a particular alliance. So the way that you normally collect miles is either by spending money on credit cards that you don't need. Personally, I don't do that. I don't collect miles through credit cards. I don't like opening credit cards just to earn miles. I don't believe in borrowing money to do what I do, so I don't collect miles that way. And secondly, because I don't stay within a particular alliance and I'm deliberately trying, especially random airlines that aren't in any alliance at all, I don't collect very many miles, so I don't have that many to spend. Most of, in fact nearly all of my flights are paid for with cash. Ran Clark asks me, do you think you could tolerate the non-stop London to Perth flight in economy? No, I don't think I could. James Brown says, do you have any specific equipment that you feel makes travelling easier? Particularly, how do you carry your documents? I'm so paranoid about losing my passport, etc. Thanks. Now, my passport actually normally lives in my bag, and I only get it out, and I'm very disciplined at doing so because I travel so many times over a year. It's second nature now. I only get the passport out when I need it. I don't keep it in a pocket. I tend not to leave it anywhere that isn't in the bag. It just lives in a deep pocket in my rucksack, and that's where it is. So I don't actually normally rely on specific equipment to keep stuff safe. The only piece of equipment that's a real lifesaver for me is my battery pack. I have an enormous 16,000 milliamp hour battery pack that I got from Amazon, and that is a real boon for me. It helps keep all my devices charged, and of course my camera and all my gear that I need to make my trip reports. That's probably the one thing that I couldn't do all of this stuff without, is a good battery pack. A user called 2Bins says, bring back the old intro music drums. It's your trademark. Imagine Thunderbirds changing their intro theme for a new season. It would never have happened. So there's a good reason that I took away the drums. The first reason actually is because a lot of other trip reporters were starting to do that, because I specifically said that it was a good idea to do it in a previous Q&A video. So now that lots of people are doing it, it's something that I'm not going to do anymore. Basically having that little montage of what you're about to see, 10 seconds or so at the start of the video. The other reason is actually I found that after I stopped doing that and just putting my very short intro on without the drums and without the montage, is that it actually increased viewer retention. So people were leaving the video during that little drum sequence, and that's something that I don't want to happen. The drums have gone, and no doubt other people are going to start dropping their little intro scenes as well. Now that I've said it increases viewer retention. User called S125ish says, Glasgow or Edinburgh? And I would always say Glasgow. It's a more real city than Edinburgh. Edinburgh is a fantastic place. It's the capital of Scotland. It is a beautiful city, especially in the centre. However, Glasgow is just a bit more real, and I place authenticity over tourism every day of the week. Hugh Gilroy says, what could Cathay Pacific teach other first-class airlines with their service? And my answer is, wait for the video. You're only going to have to wait a couple of weeks for the video on Cathay Pacific First Class. I'll give you a clue. It was absolutely fantastic. I really can't wait to edit the video, but you'll see exactly what Cathay Pacific can teach other airlines in that video when I upload it. Another question from Kelsey Hoare, who says, where was your first flight to and which airline was it with? My first flight was when I was just a couple of years old and my mother was pregnant with my sister. I flew from London Luton to Palma, Mallorca on a Britannia Airways 767. Britannia, of course, is a defunct airline. It doesn't exist anymore, but it used to be a really, really big and popular tourist and charter airline in the UK back when I was very, very small. And the last question that I'm going to address in this particular Q&A video is from Sharon Hollingsworth, who gives me a question that I actually get quite often via YouTube. And she says, Paul, I just discovered your trip reports a week or so ago and I'm already addicted. You seem so relaxed when flying. And since I'm a self-admitted white knuckler, I'm wondering if you have any words of wisdom to help me conquer my fears. Well, firstly, fear of flying is like any fear, I think. I'm not a professional, but I think most fears are irrational. They're based on some kind of prejudice or idea that you have inside your own head. And I will happily admit to being anxious at some points when I'm flying. I don't particularly like turbulence, even though I know that an aircraft being knocked out of the sky just doesn't happen. I'm anxious to see when I'm taking off that the slats and flaps have been deployed on the wings, so I know the aircraft is configured properly for takeoff. And being an enthusiast of aircraft, I know all of the things that can and sometimes do go wrong with flying. All I would say is try and put it in perspective. Your taxi ride or car ride or your walk across the street to the airport is far, far more laden with risk in terms of you being hurt or worse than actually getting on the plane. Even the least safe airlines out there are more safe than driving to the airport. So try and relax. The airlines are run by incredible people who have your safety in mind. The pilots up the front of the aircraft both want to go home at the end of the day as well. You're in good hands. Flying is completely safe, and don't be afraid to be anxious, because I'm quite happy to admit I get that residual level of anxiety as well, and I'm sure many other people do as well. So that is going to conclude the Q&A video. Thank you so much for watching and getting all the way to the end. And yeah, I'm just going to close it here. Leave your comments below as always. The next trip report that you guys are going to see on this channel will be on Thursday, unless you have donated $1 a month or more on Patreon, in which case it will be available to you from Tuesday evening. Isn't that exciting? And of course, for patrons, it will be completely ad-free. I'm going to close it here now, edit this, and let's get it up tonight. It's a Sunday evening, and of course you want to hear from me. Bye for now.